I've been talking about since I started about having a sense of humor. And the interesting thing that I believe is that if we accept things we can't change, and if we laugh at ourselves, accept things about the people around us that we can't change, even if we create a little humor like my daddy did, that we program ourselves to see the humor in stressful situations whenever they occur and make the most of them. And I'm going to give you a real good example of somebody that did that. Maybe one of the best stories I've ever seen of somebody that saw the humor in a stressful situation occurred in Alabama many years ago. I was to MC a small town beauty pageant in Alabama. I would like to say for the women in the room, this was a scholastic opportunity for career-minded young women. No, it wasn't. It was a small town beauty pageant. I did not know that in addition to all of the southern young women, there was a young woman who had just moved to this little town in Alabama with her family from, I guess, Long Island, Manhattan, somewhere way up there. At that stage in my life, growing up in North Carolina, going to Auburn, having Alabama roots, I'd never heard anybody with a thick, big city northern accent. I just had never heard it. But I was interviewing the contestants. I had interviewed 4 of them. And a beautiful young woman walked up. She had a big smile on her face and personality just written all over her. And I was just sitting right there in Alabama, so I was a little shocked because I said, "Hey." And she said, "Hi. I'm number 5. My ears started just batting on my head. I turned into Deputy Dog. I said, "What?" She said, "I'm number 5. Number 5. And the pageant director told me, and then she stopped. She said, "How are you?" I said, "I'm fine. How you?" She said, "I'm doing terrific. The pageant director told me to talk to you." The pageant director? Yeah. The pageant director. She slowed down and enunciated. The guy with the clipboard told me to talk to you. At that point, I said what every one of you would have said if you had been standing there. You're not from around here, are you? And that's when I learned that they had just moved down to Alabama, and she was having, as she said, a blast. With this terrific personality, she had become the pet of the pageant. They loved her. A lot of people wanted her to win, but she had a concern. Her concern was this. At the beginning of the pageant, each contestant had to walk out on stage up to a microphone and tell the group about her hobbies and how she liked to spend her time. And her concern was that when she started talking, these people in Alabama were going to burst out laughing because, as she said, "I don't talk like these guys." I said, "I hadn't noticed it." Then I told her sort of what I'm reminding everybody of here today. I said, "Look, good people are everywhere. These people in Alabama, you get out there, you keep a smile on your face, you do the best you can do, they're going to love you." I didn't realize how southern I had become on the word love. I scared her. She backed up. "Do what to me?" I said, "They're going to love you. L-U-V. They're going to love you." She went on to tell me that for her talent, she was going to tap dance like a Radio City Music Hall rockette to the tune Babyface. Remember it? Babyface, boom, 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 boom. Now, I took dancing when I was growing up. All little girls growing up in small southern towns are exposed to dancing. I took it all, tap, jazz, ballet. But the handwriting was on the wall one day. They came in, gave everybody a tutu and tossed me a 4-4. I knew the whole thing was wrong. But I know enough about dance to know 2 things when the rehearsal was over. Number 1, she was never going to be anything like a Radio City Music Hall rockette. But number 2, she had all the talent she was going to need compared to the other contestants in this pageant that night. The next night, the community poured into the local school gym-atorium. Been there? Sure you have. Right where you people are sitting right here, they had a basketball court with a goal right here and a goal down there. You could do a layup and run right into the stage and knock yourself out. The stage was right here with a curtain over it and a curtain down the side. Since they weren't having a ball game, they were having a pageant, they had put steel cold gray folding chairs in the school on the basketball court going right back. And stenciled on the back of every chair was, "Property of First Baptist Church, do not remove." The people who got there late and couldn't get in the chairs had to sit in the bleachers that pulled out from each side. The sound system was nothing like what we have here at Renfro Valley. The sound system was run up in a little crow's nest up here by a guy named Elmo who just climbed straight up a ladder. Elmo didn't even have the equipment they have here. What Elmo had was a small record player with a stack of records given to him by the contestants and a microphone. Each time he needed music, he put that record on and he put the microphone down and the noise would come down the chords all the way to 2 football-sized fields, loudspeakers on either side facing the people in the folding chairs. There had been some discussion at rehearsal about removing Elmo from his position. He did all right on the 45 records because all he had to do was move the needle right to the front. But on the 78s and the longer playing albums where he had to find the song, we could hear him looking. Finally, the committee in charge said, "Oh, let him keep his job. How much can one man mess up a pageant?" At 7:30, the show started. And what I would love to tell you is that when the Northern Tap Dancer came out to tell about her hobbies, the people in Alabama didn't even notice her accent. That's what I would like to tell you. But of course they noticed it. All around the gymatorium, men swallowed their chewing tobacco. A couple of women did too. And when she stepped up to that microphone and announced to the crowd that she liked to hang out at the mall and play with her dog in the yard, a woman down here named Maudie May turned to her sister and said, "What'd she say?" "She's got a pet mole. She found it in the yard." But did they burst out laughing? Would you have? No. Now this is audience participation. Come on, Bob Jean, you got to, it's not Bobby Eugene, it's Bob Eugene. Is that it? When I ask a question, y'all chime in. Did they burst out laughing? No. Very good. But they wanted to. But they held it back and they said to themselves, "We can hold back anything for 3 hours." They just didn't know how far they were going to be pushed. How far can you push a group of nice people? For example, contestant number 1 in the talent competition came out on the stage and she jumped on a trampoline. That's it. My words are precisely correct. She just jumped on the trampoline. She did not flip. She did not twist in the air. She didn't even seat drop. Children under the bleachers were saying, "I can do that." She just jumped. But on this stage, as she got her momentum up, going straight up so many times, she began to disappear behind the curtain. And you could see people in the audience go, "Bounce." Where'd she go? Bounce. The curtain man. Anybody that has ever been in anything like this knows about this kind of guy. The curtain man is standing over here with one hand on the curtain and a toothpick rolling around in his mouth. I know y'all know about this because a bunch of you had them in your mouth when you got here last night. He could talk, he could chew, he could drink milk, he could eat, he could roll that toothpick. It never left his mouth. But when he wanted to say something important, he took that thing out and he pointed it at you. And when she was out there jumping and then disappearing, he leaned over at me and took that toothpick out and says, if she wants any points and talent, she better spring herself through that basketball goal. But they held it back. And then out came contestant number 2, and for her talent, lifted weights to classical music. Beethoven truly rolled over. Trust me. Muscles, she had muscles, and she had something oily all over them. I've seen this on the weightlifters in the Olympics. I don't know the name of it. Do any of you lift weights? Bob Eugene? You lift weights? I knew you didn't. I was trying to be nice. She lifted those barbells around like they were tiddlywinks. And 2.5 minutes into her talent, she put them down and came over in front of the judges and started doing this stuff. One old judge broke his pencil. But the curtain man, he leaned over at me and he said, he ain't gonna make it through swimsuit. But I ask you, you tell me, did they burst out laughing? No, wonderful people. But they were going to be pushed further. Out came contestant number 3, and for her talent, in all my years of watching pageants before this and since, I've never seen another contestant do this for her talent. She packed a suitcase. That was it. For 3 minutes, she packed a suitcase. She had little clothes, she folded them, she put them in shoes, she put them in the corners, she did all around, and people sat mesmerized. I remember standing at the lectern thinking, if I had known this was talent, I could have been Miss America. And at exactly 3 minutes, she closed that suitcase and walked off the stage waving. Curtain guy took that toothpick out again. She said, she may be packed, but she ain't going nowhere. But I ask you again, even pushed this far, did they laugh? No, good people. I introduced contestant number 4. She came out to sing, and I went backstage to find the northern tap dancer and encourage her. I said, come on, you get out there. They like you. So I told you they wouldn't laugh when you told them about hanging out at the mall and playing with the dog. See, they sat right there. You get out there and keep a smile. And I promise you, these people in Alabama, she said, hey, they're going to love me. I said, yes, they will. She got out on the stage and got in her tap dance ready position. And Elmo, to his credit, started her music right on time, which was not tough. He got it right at the absolute beginning because she had a 45 record. All he had to do was just move the needle. Only problem was the singer's record had been on 78 speed. And Elmo didn't change the button. He changed a button, but it was volume. He turned it up. So instead of baby face, boom, 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 we had baby face. You got to do this little baby face. And the noise came through these things and came like a tornado right at the people in the folding chairs. They were falling over backwards, grabbing their children. One woman said later, it shot her home permanent straight. Another woman said her water broke. And she wasn't even pregnant. But a man said he didn't think anything about it. She's from the north. You know, they talk faster up there. They probably play the music a lot faster, too. Now, if that had been any of us here at our age, we would have said, please stop the music. It's on the wrong speed. But she was 17 in a new town She didn't even speak the language, didn't know the people. But she was a trooper, and she could see the humor in a stressful situation. She did the only thing that she could think of to do. She started tap dancing in 78 speed. Baby face, you got the cutest little, and her little arms were going around. Have you ever seen a hummingbird? Man down here in the row says to his wife, she's going up, Mama, watch this. She's going to rise up like a heliocopter. Her veins on her neck started standing out. Her face turned red. I thought she was going to explode. I went over and started pounding on the wall to get Elmo's attention. It took forever. By now, her parents had fallen out into the aisle. He finally looked over, and all I had to do was say, wrong speed, and point. By now, she had dug a little hole in the middle of the stage. Elmo gulped and disappeared, and she was still out there going like this. But did the audience laugh even at this? They didn't know what they were supposed to do. Was she doing comedy or what? They did not know. Mercifully, before she exploded, Elmo got to the record player and turned that record off of 78 down to 45 where it ought to be, and kept on going to 33 1/3. This meant that record went like this. Baby face, you got the cutest little baby face. No one could ever take your place. It was as though the whole group had been picked up and put into the twilight zone. Babies knew better than to even burp. The contestant was frozen in the Heisman Trophy position on stage. And I point this out because she had tried once, and it just didn't work. But you sometimes have to try again. We could hear the music going on. My poor heart is jumping. She looked out and around the audience, and she made that snap decision to see the humor in it. And she started tap dancing in 33 1/3. Oh, the heart is jumping. Curtain man says to me, you want me to put her out of her misery? I realize now he meant pull the curtain, but I wasn't real sure that night. 17 years old. Now let's talk about the audience. They had had it. They had been pushed from a trampoline to playing with her dog in the yard, to coming out lifting weights, to packing a suitcase to the music, going baby face, and now we're going babe. It could not get any worse. But just when you say that, it can. In this hot auditorium, you know the line where it goes, in her warm embrace? When it got to the word warm, in this hot auditorium, the record stuck and started going warm, 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 warm. And about after the third one, this contestant, bless her heart, went right into it and started going warm, warm, warm. You remember Trigger counting out? Warm, warm. And at this point, that was all she wrote. Now I'm going to see how smart y'all are. Did the audience finally burst out laughing? Yes. And they stood up and started going with her. Warm, 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 warm. And she started milking it. Warm, warm, warm. I was over there and I just said, this cannot keep going. I've got to stop it. But I had to come all the way across the stage. By now she's flirting with people over here. Warm. I got about 2 feet from her and she saw me coming. She turned around and she said, get off the stage. These people love me.